Hi. Hi folks. Well, this is what I'm saying, that this video is not made. Don't criticize me if I could say this. Look, things how has been going on in this world, okay? And one of the other things is, violating the people violating their First Amendment laws. The First Amendment equals to freedom of speech. Freedom of speech, it is one thing that this country, the United States of America, you have these amendments, and then that you have the freedom of speech to speak out against, even against our allies. All right, so for example, you have the willing to have your First Amendment by being violated. For some of you, being violated your First Amendment laws. Talib. She were been outspoken out, and she stood out to saying her will and her cause. But people like her will have someday have been get violated by another way for other activists to easily express their Second Amendment laws, right? What if each state, what if each state, depending in there, were to ease their Second Amendment laws, right? The Second Amendment in the United States means right to bear arms. Right to bear arms is that any citizen, any American citizen, have the rights to buy a gun. All right. Now, what it is to ease the Second Amendment laws is to ease and lift the ban of fully automatic weapons. That's to include fully automatic assault rifles, or in other words, to let any U.S. civilian could purchase a fully automatic weapon, that they fully purchase a machine gun, to fully purchase a machine gun. In other words, why this would be in effect? Let's try this. Let's try it for New York. Let's try it for every single state in the union. What if it make it into a federal law, right? If they make it into a federal law, what it is about all this, people using their machine guns, even cops, and I'm not talking about the cops, but people using their machine guns to use it against certain activists, certain religious organizations. Is this America's doing this because they stand with God, or they're doing the work of God? Well, and I'm talking about who they're doing it again, going for, is pro-Palestinian activists on the streets, pro-Palestinian protesters. Getting their First Amendment rights to be violated, so the pro-Israel activists could use their Second Amendment rights towards pro-Palestinian protesters a chance to buy a machine gun and kill all the pro-Palestinian protesters. Might be called to some people doing the work of God. America siding with God, the act of God, in what is called pro-Israel activists using their Second Amendment right on pro-Palestinian protesters. What it is about all this, all right? That's depending on who. It might be state law, but put it in federal. Each candidate might come up. I'm not talking about who was going to run for the Republican candidate. Whoever wins, one of them will eventually ease up to make it into a federal law the use of an individual's Second Amendment right to use that Second Amendment rights towards or upon pro-Palestinian activists or protesters. I mean that they could easily buy a machine gun, go to the store, oh, I want an AR-15. Oh, sir, do you have an AK-47? Sure. And then when they use the machine guns and they kill a bunch of pro-Palestinian protesters, what do? They never go to jail. They'll never go to jail. Why? Because it would be in favor of the Israel government that says, okay, this is America's with us. Look at this. Look what they're doing. They're giving civilian machine guns to kill a bunch of pro-Palestinian activists. And this and this when they say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, then boom, here's grab a machine gun and kill them, all of them, in New York City, LA, Chicago, all over the country, and to make it into a federal law. Civilians or even police officers go rat-ta-ta-ta-ta, and they go and shut up. I mean, for some of you, if this would have happened, the only reason I could tell you is to stay at home. And why I could tell you to stay at home, because they might have an individual or a police officer be sent, or police officers be sent with machine guns. They'll use the machine guns on you, and if it's an individual going to court, the person pled not guilty. Oh, what happened? Oh, sir, Adam is pled not guilty for using a machine gun towards pro-Palestinian activists. He's not guilty. You're not going to jail. Innocent. Boom! The guy's innocent for killing a bunch of pro-Palestinian activists with his machine gun. I mean, that what it is. Oh, here's an Uzi. Here's an AK. Here's an AR-15. Go do it. You're not gonna go to jail. You have your right. It is called a God-given right to shoot a bunch of protesters in favor of Palestine. Yeah, I mean, if this law could be applied, even though I don't agree with some people going pro-Hamas, but I don't agree with pro-Hamas, and I don't agree with both governments in a way what is going on over there. But what is going on here, I mean, technically, in some sort of way, it's okay to use a machine gun, I mean, it's okay to use a machine gun, I mean, even the NRA could invite Benjamin Netanyahu, and what the NRA would see this tactics of the next candidate who's going to replace Joe Biden, put this into a federal law that the government agrees with the NRA, Israel agrees what the NRA was doing for and easing the sale of machine guns for every American civilian to buy a machine gun, right? So, if this sort of thing happened, I could agree on some sort of point. But what the tactics are is that we're gonna find out whoever's gonna be the next president in searching for colleges, which schools that they have, these pro-Palestine activists, so they could easily use their machine guns and don't get in trouble. And if that thing happens, I agree in some sort, but not in all. If their people try to express and give a right, some of these pro-Palestine protesters might carry a freaking revolver or something, or a knife or whatever, and they want to freaking beat the living shit out of them. Then those some certain pro-Israel protesters will will have the choice to use their machine guns, and they don't go to jail, and they use their Second Amendment right towards a pro-Palestinian manifest or activist, because some of them who are expressing for Israel, or whatever, the people that are captured by Hamas, and some of them are maybe be infiltrated by Hamas, could use their machine gun and kill a bunch of certain protesters. They are pretty extreme, right? So that's where I could agree in there. Yeah? And speaking of which, I would say, in some sort of way, I know I cannot agree with killing people and whatever, but this machine gun law, or bending the law of Americans buying machine guns, even though if they're if they're pro-Israel, the first thing I think they might do if this happens, before they buy the machine gun, they'll ask you a question. The person who's gonna buy the machine gun, they'll say, "Are you for Palestine? Or are you for Israel?" If the person says it's for the person is for Palestine, that individual can't buy the machine gun. If that person says it's for Israel, then boom, here you go. Here's your machine gun. The machine gun's yours. Use it. Yeah. Guy goes. The individual walks out happy with his AK, or with his AR-15, or Uzi, or whatever, an Uzi. Yeah, and they could use it. Yeah, whatever it is that would it be that that even to turn this into a federal law, easing the Second Amendment, right? Like let a pro-Israel activists to speak out, or have the freedom to use their Second Amendment right towards pro-Palestinian activists in the United States, looking towards colleges and looking out to each schools or places of work, or wherever they have some kind of pro-Palestinian protest, or even at a mall. And people go to activists in a mall, and they're all going insane, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. They have the right to take out their freaking machine gun and shoot at the activists in the mall. Doesn't matter if it's an Apple store or whatever, shooting a bunch of pro-Palestinian activists in every city and town in America. Would that be alright if the Second Amendment, the Second Amendment laws would be eased for people to buy machine guns, to use those machine guns towards pro-Palestinian activists, and they don't go to jail for doing that. I mean, this don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. They're using their Second Amendment right. You know, they can't go to jail. They have the right to use a machine gun and shoot all the pro-Palestinian activists. They don't go to jail, or whatever it is. You know, I mean, that would be like something. If this kind of thing, if this kind of stuff happens, then I might not say that I am for it, but to some degree, that if that happens, I could agree in there. I could agree that if there not anybody, because they could go to a college and they could go to FIU and then have a bunch of pro-Palestine activists, somebody with a machine gun and use his machine gun and uses Uzi or an AR-15 or an AK or whatever, and use that machine gun to use the Second Amendment right on pro-Palestinian activists, violating the First Amendment right in favor of the Second Amendment right. You know, if this happened, 2A wins over the First Amendment. That means pro-Palestinian activists will get their First Amendment right violated, while pro-Israel activists could freely exercise their Second Amendment rights. They could use their Second Amendment rights towards pro-Palestinian activists. And what they do, they can't go to jail. They can't go to jail. Police don't bother them. Oh, yeah, this is all and they see a bunch of dead people who are pro-Palestinian activists. They don't go to jail. They don't arrest them. They do nothing. All right. So some of these would be, saying a bunch of people dead at FIU because some guy with a machine gun is shooting a bunch of protesters, and all the protesters are for Palestine. Well, the guy don't go to jail. He's not arrested, and he walked free. You know, that would be a person that used a machine gun, is for Israel, is a pro-Israel activist who's using his Second Amendment right towards pro-Palestinian activists at FIU or wherever. But in the streets or whatever it is, some sort of, there might be some people who could, carry a knife or whatever it is, infiltrated, and this is where I could agree that the person using his AK or his Uzi or an AR-15 could have the right to use that machine gun, and whichever are infiltrated, they want to plan to throw a rock or kill a bunch of, or beat up about of any pro-Israel activists and doing a peaceful protest. That person have the right to use his Second Amendment right to use that machine gun. That's about it. I favor where that goes. This is where I'll be in favor of that. I'll be in favor of that instead of instead of the person getting beat up, or somebody that they might pull out a freaking a revolver or a shotgun, or a revolver or a handgun or some sort of type. I like it, like some damn pro-Palestinian protester pull out his Beretta, and then but in that case, with that type of the ease of having the right to own a machine gun, then the person could easily be protected by using the machine gun, aiming at the person ready to use his Beretta, and gets killed, and the guy gets killed, the man is protected. Well, that is the sort of thing the pro-Palestinian, mad activist with Beretta can't use his Beretta because the pro-Israel activists been protected to shoot at not just one but 2 or 3 individuals of these radicals or infiltrated Hamas individuals that carry their handguns, and yet the person did the right thing, by using the machine gun, by using his AR-15 or AK or an Uzi. All right, so I mean, that would be the only way I could favor for the person's self-defense, But whoever would be who would be the next president, who is going to lift the ban on machine guns, then what the Indian American woman or whoever would it be? Even if it's John Hagee, then he would definitely right there, right on the bat, lift machine gun ban so anybody could have the right to use their Second Amendment right towards pro-Palestinian activists on the street when they yell from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. He'll just use his machine gun at those activists, because each one might have a machine gun or might have a handgun or whatever, might have a Glock or a Beretta or whatever it is, But I mean, if that would be for John Hagee running for president, he'll eventually do that. Then even cops will freaking use machine guns. I mean, NYPD will pull out their machine guns, and you see the people in New York City who are pro-Palestinian activists get killed by a policeman, by the NYPD, by a cop that used a machine gun. And if this would be music to the ears, maybe the guy says that's the sound of God. Yeah, I mean, John Hagee, if he was running for president, he'll say that stuff. He'll say that shit. I mean, to what I have said to you, if John Hagee ain't running for president, but he might just agree whichever candidate that is willing to ease, that a president would ease their Second Amendment right, so an individual could use his Second Amendment right to use a machine gun towards pro-Palestinian protesters, to have free to use their Second Amendment rights towards pro-Palestinian protesters. All right, so if that would be the case, so I mean, I'm not saying that would be possible. If that's not just being in a vote, it might be a federal law. What do you think that the next candidate for the Republican Party, if is willing to ease the Second Amendment right, that it could turn into a federal law that each individual could purchase a machine gun, and that individual with the machine gun could freely exercise their Second Amendment rights towards pro-Palestinian activists, pro-Palestine protesters, all right? Use their Second Amendment right towards pro-Palestine protesters. What do you think of that? So write me a comment. You could subscribe to this channel, and I don't know, I don't have a gun, but I remember going to the ranges. But I understand the concern for some of you people, that if you're willing, when things change, if you're willing to get out and yell free Palestine and and from the river to the sea, where Palestine will be free or whatever, when the next president set these laws, you are in danger. What I will tell you to do, my advice, stay at home. Stay at home, and you will be safe from an individual that will shoot you and your friends speaking for what you believe, that Palestine should be free, speaking for what you think it is. Then that the person that would exercise their Second Amendment rights against your First Amendment rights, then that person will be set free. A judge will be saying, oh, this whatever, so and so did that, and that kills a bunch of pro-Palestine activists or pro-Palestine protesters. The person, what happened with that person? Not guilty, will be set free, never goes to jail, and have his freedom. That's it. So if that happens, stay at your house. But if that happens, I mean, some of you fools that you are trying to violate the pro-Israel activist rights, their First Amendment laws, by using your damn gun, your little Glocks or Berettas, or your even 1911s, all right? Then you just a fool as these other people who are, or you even part of infiltration of Hamas, that you want to just cheer up on blowing up hospitals, killing innocent children, just like whatever the Israeli government does, and just to kill a bunch of other civilians that have nothing to do with Hamas, and just because that government pour their money towards nuclear weapons to use it on a certain country that helps Palestine just to get nuked, then you're not better off than them. But for those, if the time comes when the next president of the United States of America, whoever this candidate may be from the Republican Party, lifted the ban of machine guns, for you pro-Israel activists, you piece of shit Hamas infiltrator, could exercise his Second Amendment right, pick up his AR-15, pick up his Uzi or AK-47 to use it on you, asshole. And some Hamas infiltrators will be killed. You're a dead ass, all right? For you Hamas infiltrator, you're a dead ass after Biden leaves the presidency. All right, so I don't agree with that. Some pro-Israel protesters, they might have they might have the Jewish gun club. I mean, the Jewish gun club of America. Probably New York might have it. If the New York State were to have a Jewish mayor, or I mean a governor or a Jewish mayor for New York City, and they get ease up with their Second Amendment rights, and probably New York have to be the first New York City will be have the first state, so individuals could easily buy machine guns, and then so beat it, so beat it, so beat it. They need these, so they need the machine guns. So some certain Hamas infiltrators within the pro-Palestine manifestation movement could use their machine guns and try to defend themselves by using machine guns, and each one who is a Hamas activist will be dead because a pro-Israel activist who might not get violated their First Amendment right, but they freely could use their Second Amendment right to defend within the Hamas infiltrators they try to harm an Israeli pro-Israel manifesto, pro-Israel activists, that their First Amendment rights will be violated, but they have freely used their Second Amendment rights against a Hamas infiltrator. I mean, if you agree with this type of stuff, if you agree what if the next president of the United States would ease and turn to a federal law that anybody could buy a machine gun, and the person that could buy a machine gun could manifest their Second Amendment right to use it towards pro-Palestine protesters, that their First Amendment rights are violated, but their Second Amendment rights for pro-Israel activists are free to exercise their Second Amendment right, then write me a comment and what do you think of that, or what do they think that they look for schools, malls, any areas where they have pro-Palestinian protesters, so people with machine guns to exercise their Second Amendment rights, that could easily buy a machine gun like candy at a gun store, then write me a comment. Right? If you're in favor of the next president of the United States to lift machine gun bans, so people who are Israeli pro-Israel activists could have the rights to purchase a machine gun, so they could use their Second Amendment rights towards pro-Palestine protesters, then tell me what you think. Any comment would be pleased, even if you try to trash me, even if you want to say about it. I mean, for me, I don't even have that ease, but yeah, if I don't want to do this, but anybody who says, oh, they have the freaking right to purchase a machine gun, I mean, that individual could have the right to purchase a machine gun, because the next president of the United States will ease these type of Second Amendment rights. So an Israeli activist could easily use his or her Second Amendment rights upon pro-Palestine protesters, then write a comment. I could agree through that extent to protect individuals for Hamas infiltrators within the United States. I could agree with that. Use a machine gun. but it would be bad for people who have nothing to do with it, you know? I mean, see you in the next vid. Write me a comment, and goodbye, everybody.